So, with all the cynicism in the world about, does it really work? Activism, can we really change the world? Can you maybe share something about, victories that we've made and things we shouldn't forget that are there today because of activism?
Well, often I kind of ask this question. I say, so we'll often be in a room of people, but here you're probably sitting watching this on your own on YouTube or something, so it's a bit different. But I'd say, if you're a woman, have you ever worn trousers? If you're a man or a woman, have you ever used contraception? Have you ever worked an 8-hour day? Have you ever ridden a bike as a child? Have you ever been part of a union? Have you ever read any independent media or taken a weekend? So what all those things, what do they have in common? And all those things that we now take completely for granted were they were won because of disobedience. They were won because people resisted. They were won because people went to jail. People refused the norms of the time and said, no, this is an injustice and we will fight this injustice, even if it means jail, death, persecution, ostracization or whatever. And so, yeah, even wearing trousers as a woman, women died for that. So I think it's incredibly important to remember that disobedience constructs history, that it's something that capitalism constantly tries to make us forget. In a way, capitalism is brilliant at rewriting its own history and making us forget that everything we take for granted happened because people disobeyed, not because people voted, not because people wrote, petitions, but people disobeyed. And I think it's really important to remember to fight to win, because without that focus, where is the energy? And I'm very lucky that I think one of the things that has kept me going, and of course there are days where one's totally depressed and one feels it's all completely pointless, and that whatever happens we're going to go to 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, extinction of the human race, extinction of most of life on Earth. And then there are other days I go, no, actually, I'm going to keep doing this, and of course we're going to win, because that's the only option. And I'm lucky that I've been involved in campaigns that have won, often totally unexpectedly. I mean, the first time 20 years ago, I jumped on a bulldozer for the first time in my life and attached myself to that bulldozer to stop a road being built in the UK. It's the first time I'd ever done direct action, and little did I know that a few years later, 700 roads would be cancelled. Roads stopped being built. And why? Because actually it cost the road builders and the government too much money, because there was too much resistance. And I think that's the thing we have to always remember, is that they speak money. The system speaks money. It's the only language they know, and the only way we will win is to take away their power and take away their money. It has to become more expensive what they're doing. So direct action against the road building program in the 90s in the UK was massively successful. As I say, 700 roads were cancelled. And throughout that period, I also saw crazy ideas being proposed. Like I remember when sitting in a meeting and we proposed to take over the financial district of London in 1999 with the Carnival Against Capitalism, and everyone's like, you're mad, you're crazy, plus you're doing it on a Friday, no one's going to turn up. And 8,000 people turned up, and we occupied the financial district of London in 1999 in the Carnival Against Capitalism, while 50 different cities around the world were also being occupied, and financial centres were being occupied and disrupted and so on. And little did I realise that those actions would then lead to Seattle, which would then lead to the ultra-globalisation movement, and all these actions that happened, Zapatismo and everything, would come together to create this big movement, which was the ultra-globalisation movement, which had loads of victories. Neoliberalism is hitting us hard right now with austerity and everything, but it would be way worse, way, way worse if it hadn't been for the incredible power of the auto-globalization movement that was happening in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, I suppose the victories that I was really lucky to see were victories against the climate camp, managed to basically, together with local residents and long-term campaigns of NGOs and so on, but really managed to stop the building of the third runway at Heathrow, a runway which produces the same amount of CO2 than the country of Kenya in Africa. That was one. We also stopped the building of the Kings North power station. There was a climate camp next to the Kings North coal-fired power station. Again, the climate camp, direct action, with a combination of NGOs, lobbying, pressure and stuff from other less radical groups. But coming together, we had these victories. And so I think it's super important to remember these victories. And I think as activists, we often get obsessed by the failures and the repression, and I think we need to look more at winning and what does it look like and how do we fight to win, and especially around COP, I think we need to fight to win. We need to actually fight to believe that we can actually have an effect on the deal, and we have to do that. I think we need to believe that our movements can have a direct effect on what is signed on the night of the 11th or the morning of the 12th of December 2015, because what is signed in Paris on that night is going to basically, it's either going to be a death sentence or it's going to be something that maybe gives us a chance to not go to 2 degrees.